Start talking a little bit. Okay.
Say hi. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome on board. Today we're going to be talking about nutrition, inflammation, attitudes about food. I'm Bob, nutrition coach. Should I just get going?
Remember, go right into
Okay.
it, 'cause
So
everybody
basically
watches
what we're
that.
doing, I'm going to tell you a few stories. I see a lot of patients and they come in and I give nutrition coaching and so forth. And they come in for various reasons, usually body composition issues or chronic fatigue, or there's inflammation, there's a joint issue and so forth, or there's some debilitating disease, or they've had a near miss, cardiovascular issue, they're pre-diabetic or they get diagnosed as having diabetes, type 2 diabetes, adult onset. And a lot of these things go back to how we look at food, how we respect food, especially in America. We don't sit down and eat anymore. Take a look at, we eat free, we don't view food as energy source, as something that helps us. We just look at it as something that we have to do to just get through the day. And we skip meals and do things like that, eat highly processed foods. And there's a real issue with that. It's coming really back to bite us. I was looking at studies the other night. In the 1970s, when the Surgeon General, we came out against smoking and so forth, and America really stopped smoking cigarettes, like compared to then, smoke half as much. But obesity has doubled since the 1970s. Cardiovascular disease has doubled since the 1970s. Diabetes has doubled, is epidemic now. I know it's not politically correct, but obesity is something that we now, we accept. It's something that is an acceptable thing. And what's happening is our whole society is now coming to terms with, what? We're going to have incredible stress on our health system. Productivity goes down because we're becoming sicker as a society, and we're not going to live as long. We already know that this generation, this X generation, is not going to live as long as the generations before because of the adult onset diabetes, the cardiovascular disease. Children now, because of the way they're eating now, we're having this incredible amounts of children going into puberty at 9 years old, 8 years old for girls. They should 5, 6, 7 years before they should even be going into this. They're going on into this because we're feeding them things that are over-processed. We've got to get back to eating whole foods. We have to get back to sitting down and respecting food. I went to Catholic school. You know what? We used to say grace before food, before we had lunch. We sat down around the tables at the cafeteria. It's a kind of, I'm not a real religious guy, but the thing is that it makes sense, is that we're grateful that we have this food. But today, it's almost like eating lunch is like, it's an afterthought. People just grab and they're on the go, and they don't do these things. They don't plan, they don't prepare. And what's happening now is now we're seeing the impact of 30 years, 40 years of not doing this. We always used to point the finger at fats, and now it's all carbohydrates and so forth. It's none of that. It's because we don't eat with any intention, no respect for the food. We've got to get back to that. And there's certain things, to curb hunger. Eating whole foods curbs your hunger. Whole foods I mean whole dark green leafy vegetables. And you know what? It doesn't really matter the starches and so forth. It's proportionality. If we're eating too much protein is no good. Too much carbohydrate is no good. But the bottom line is that we have to be more aware of what we're eating, and we're not. Just the things, the minor things. Soda. Don't take my word for it. A 12-ounce can of soda, Coca-Cola or Pepsi, there's 30 or 40 grams of sugar in it. A Mountain Dew, a 22-ounce Mountain Dew or a 20-ounce Mountain Dew, I read there was 70 grams of sugar in it. 70 grams of sugar. Let me tell you something about inflammation. People talk about inflammation and our bodies are inflamed and we've got all kinds of arthritis issues. Children have arthritis that is unparalleled. They've never seen it before. And it was like, well, the kids are 30 and 40 pounds overweight. Yes, there's a lot more stress on that growing skeletal system. But the fact of the matter is we spike sugars with kids all day long. They're drinking sodas, they're eating junk food, high glycemic processed food. When you spike insulin or you spike your sugar, therefore spiking your insulin, you cause fat storage. But what also happens is it's the component for inflammation. So our bodies become more inflamed. And studies show, they did a study with fixating a molecule of glucose, sugar, with an isotope, and they put it in the body, and they say, hey, you know what? They put it in these cell dishes, and they have an incredible affinity to go where? To cancer cells. Cancer needs glucose, glycogen, sugars, raw sugars. The more sugar that's in your system, the more inflammation you're going to have. You've got to cut back on those things. The way to do it is eating whole foods. Highly processed foods with processed sugars and corn syrup and hydrogenated fats and so forth. These highly processed foods are highly digestible. And what happens is the body can't manage that energy source so fast. So what it does, it stores it by producing a ton of insulin, which is a powerful hormone. We get fat, we get a cardiovascular disease, we get diabetes, and so forth. So how do we combat that? One, it's baby steps. Baby steps is this. Baby steps is, you know what, if you're drinking soda, cut back. Make a conscious effort to don't drink those big gulps. Go to something smaller. Go to, hey, you know what? Water with branched chain amino acids, something that will help your body, that will give you more endurance, that will give you that kick that you need in the middle of the day, that helps you recover. Branched chain amino acids are found in a lot of different foods, but when they're isolated and you can add them to water and they're with natural flavoring and so forth, what they do is they ionically go into your system, don't really travel through the liver, and they really help inflamed areas. These are things, along with electrolytes and so forth, that are invaluable. Branched chain amino acids. There are tons of companies out there that make them. They're very basic, very inexpensive. There's no calorie impact on it, but it gives you that sustainability. The other thing too is drinking a lot of water curbs your appetite. Drinking a lot of water with branched chain amino acids not only curbs your appetite, but keeps your recovery and stamina endurance going further and longer. So that's something that should be in your repertoire. If you could have one of these in the afternoon versus a can of Coke, you'll be better off. And the cumulative effect is 4 or 5 less cans of Coke a month are incredible. Now, if that turns into one of these a day, now you're drinking a case less of Coke or Pepsi or Mountain Dew, whatever you're going to drink, and that's a big deal. Refined carbohydrates, when you're looking at things that are white pasta, white sugar, those are things that are higher glycemic. They're refined. In other words, the body doesn't need as much energy to digest them. Again, it's closer to sugar, therefore it's going to spike insulin, create sustained inflammation within your body, wreaking all these different issues that people come in with. And at the end of the day, there's alternatives. The alternatives are whole grain, whole wheat, the things that aren't as processed. Brown rice, sweet potatoes, those are the kind of carbohydrates. Whole grain breads, those are the things that you want to have. Quinoa, legumes, those are the things that you take in. Same amount of calories, don't get me wrong, but the sugar release is slower. So your body has an opportunity to take advantage of that energy and use it rather than store it as fat or clog your arteries or create that inflammation that causes arthritis, cancers, and so forth. We now know that over 60% of all cancers are exacerbated or linked to some sort of dietary issue. We now know that if we cut things that cut inflammation out of our system, that cancers are less prevalent. There are no guarantees with anything, but the fact of the matter is these are the fundamental principles that you can do. Fundamental things, baby steps that you can do. Cutting back on soda, eating more dark green leafy vegetables, eating more whole foods. Those are the things. Stay away from the diet foods. The light foods aren't doing you any wrong because they're loaded with a lot of fillers and chemicals and so forth. Get back to eating whole foods. with less inflammation, you're going to have better cognitive function, you're going to have better balance, better endurance, better sex drive, all those things. People come back to me, well, you know what? I don't eat a lot of food. I skip my morning meal, and then I might eat something light at lunch, and I don't understand why I'm putting all this weight on. Starvation mode is what the body will do. In other words, your body's very adaptive. So what happens, I'm sorry, I'm shaking the camera a little bit, but your body is very adaptive. If you don't feed it, it says, hey, you know what? We're not getting fed. So whatever we get, let's hold on to it. If you go out in the sun, the body adapts by what? Creating pigment so we don't burn. If you're drinking alcohol, the first time you've had a couple glasses of beer or wine, you'll catch a buzz off that. But if you do that on a regular basis, what does the body do? Textbook immunity, adaptation. It starts resisting. Now you got to drink more and more. That's resistance that your body will do. So if you starve yourself, what happens? You will slow your metabolism down. By slowing your metabolism down, what it does is the body says, we're not getting enough calories, so let's not burn as many calories. It slows everything down, and you become a storage mechanism, a fat-making machine. You see, what you want to be is a calorie-burning machine. You want to take that energy in and expel it, use it or expel it. By doing that, getting up in the morning, eating frequently, 5 and 6 times a day, good whole foods, you'll cause your body to turn into a calorie burning machine. And then what happens is what? I'm not hungry, I've got great energy, I don't have inflammation, I've got great stamina, and I'm not putting the fat on, but I'm eating more than ever. So here's a question from Mike. So what can you do to avoid caloric increase when drinking? If you want to have an occasional drink? Well, it's simple, Mike. Here's a simple thing. You know what? It's all about baby steps. I'm not saying, hey, don't drink because alcohol is bad. We can go into another discussion about alcohol and the impact it has on your body. But the fact of the matter is, if you're going to go out and have a drink, stay away from the high glycemic juices that you pour them in with. Orange juice, grapefruit juice, cranberry juice, okay? You're not going to spike your insulin there. There's one point. Here's the other thing. When I'm out with the guys, what I'll do is I'll have a beer. But you know what? Instead of having every round having a beer, what I do is in between, I'll have to make myself comfortable, a club soda with a twist of lemon. And you know what? Something's in my hand. I don't feel deprived. It saves me a whole bunch of money. And you know what? At the end of the net effect, if I go out once or twice a week with the guys to watch a game, or I'm out with, you know what? I'm not hungover the next day. I've got more money in my pocket. And guess what? Less calories. Less calories, less fat, less inflammation. Those all go back to it. So those are fundamental things that you want to look at. Don't starve yourself. Get up in the morning. The morning meals are very important. Mid-morning, when you get hungry. Snacking, very important. Mid-afternoon, mid-morning. What do people do? They run out and get a Snickers bar or something because it's that spike of sugar that wakes them up. Well, guess what, folks? It's not waking you up. It's spiking your insulin again. We should have called this talk today spiking insulin and inflammation, because that's what they go hand in hand. If you can keep your blood sugar steady by eating regularly whole foods, now you can't always do it, but you have to find good alternatives. Pieces of fruit, not fruit juice, like a pear, an apple, a grapefruit, those will sustain you through between meals. And therefore,
You're good. Keep going.
am I okay?
Yep.
Therefore, you'll have sustained energy, you won't feel hungry, and you won't have a spike of insulin and glucose management and inflammation. So those are some of the things that we should look at. People talk about being rewarded and cheat meals and so forth. At the end of the day, if you respect food and you understand what you need as far as food, you won't need the reward. You won't need that. Or what you do is get good alternatives. And I'm not saying never eat a hamburger again or never have pizza again. Those are okay to have. But in totality, if I'm eating really clean, then you know what? I'm not going to have, I don't desire, I'm not always hungry for that bad cheat meal or that reward meal. There are certain things that people do to help reset metabolism and so forth with fats and so forth, but that's another topic. We're talking about regular people. You know what? You want to be part of the human race. You want to have an ice cream once in a while. And I'm telling you right now, if you keep clean, you can participate in the human race. You can have the drink. Be smart about it though. And you know what? You'll live longer, you'll be happier, you'll be disease free. If you don't, the alternative is statistics show. It's epidemic here in America right now. It's because we don't look at things. I mean, if I took three foods, for instance, and which one doesn't fit, and I said, say bread, pasta, and butter. Which two go together and which one doesn't go? It's interesting because I read this study last night. They did this culturally with Americans, French, and Chinese, I believe. It's funny. The Americans looked at it, and what did they say? They said, "Oh, well, the pasta and the bread go together because they're carbohydrates." The French, though, looked at it and they said, "Bread and butter go together." And the fact of the matter is that the bread and butter go together because they look at food differently than we do. They enjoy food. Like I go back to how they have lunch. They sit down with a fork and knife and have lunch during the week, have a conversation, then go back to work. We don't do that here. We're in that race where we're always going, we're grabbing food on the go. Until you have that kind of mentality where you sit down and eat food, real food on a regular basis, you'll understand the impact of what you eat, and the way you look at food and perceive food and respect food is just as important as what you eat. Mike has a question. So what can I do to avoid caloric increase? Oh, that's the same thing. So that's basically what I'm talking about. Stay away from juices, things that will exacerbate the caloric or spiking of your insulin, and you'll be better off. The other thing too is stay well hydrated after you go out drinking, to help you detox and so forth. And like I said, it's one of those things that you can. There's so many options out there. People start looking at organic food, gluten-free food. There's a surge in people that are lactose intolerant now. We weren't lactose intolerant when I grew up. There was lactose intolerant. Everybody's lactose intolerant now. Lactose intolerance. Do you really want? The fact of the matter is that our food is so devoid. Our processed food is so devoid of nutrients and so forth that our gut, the flora in our gut, is depleted. And so what happens is when we take something in like ice cream or cheese, and we have some effect, we all always think that we're allergic or lactose intolerant. The fact of the matter is if you have those symptoms, you might want to consider using digestive enzymes. If you have heartburn, if you have stomach issues, digestive enzymes do exactly what they're named to be. They help digest food. When your stomach doesn't have your gut doesn't have the proper flora to break those things down, that's when you're going to be symptomatic. You're going to get congested and so forth. Because usually when you're allergic to something, you're allergic way before you're grown up. You know, sometimes there's adult onset allergies and so forth. So there's a question about refeeds and so forth. Refeeds in terms of are really important. Refeeds are something that you can shock the system and make your body more receptive in terms of assimilating proteins and so forth. And by doing that, we'll use fats, we'll use carbohydrates and so forth. And it's that's a little bit more specific topic, Mike, but what the deal is, some people can do 2 or 3 refeeds a week. Some people 1 a week. Some people every 3 weeks. It depends. If you're in an induction phase where you're getting into this, you're going into a very specific nutrition plan, you've got to have that foundation has to take hold before you start refeeding. So depending on the patient or depending on the athlete or whoever, that's when you'll introduce refeeds. And then what happens is some people refeed a couple times a week and they just get leaner and leaner. It's an incredible thing, but it's a case-by-case basis. And that's why a lot of nutritionists and these contest guru people out there, they've got so many patients or so many clients, and it turns into basically a cookie cutter format. You've got to look at things like this, find out what works for you. And I've trained, and I'm not trained, but I've helped people along the line. And the thing is, I'm not taking credit. What I'm doing is I stand on the shoulders of some experts, contest prep people, some incredible people that I've learned through the years. We've been doing this for over 15 years. That, you know what, I've had issues, but I have the ability to pick up the phone and call somebody and say, you know what, this person is having an issue with their gut. And we could take a look at this thing, and with the advice and with the resources between the physicians, the nutritionists that we have, we solve those issues. We solve those issues. They're fine-tuning issues. It could be, you know what, somebody's eating too many nuts, too much almond butter, too much broccoli. Cut the fish, bring in a different type of fish. Get rid of the tilapia, let's go to orange roughy. Those are things that are all case by case basis. But it's all about awareness. And what happens is people don't understand what they're eating. They just don't understand. They don't understand the relationship about what's going on in their body. Once you do, you're the commander of your ship. That's what you got to be. You have to be the master and commander of your ship. So when you go on the cruise and you decide, you know what, I'm just going to eat, and I put on that 7 or 8 pounds, well, you know what, when you come off, you know what it takes to get back on board. You know how to get back on board, cut that inflammation down, get healthier again, detox again. Oh, detoxing. I see these people doing these detoxes that put them in bed for 3 or 4 days, that they're sick. That's not what detoxing is. Detoxing isn't about stripping all the flora and the probiotics out of your system. It's ridiculous what some of these people do. Of course you're going to feel better after a detox. Whenever you're sick and whenever you have the flu, after you're done with the flu, you feel great. You can't believe, oh my God. Detoxing is very, very dangerous if it's done incorrectly. What you want to do is eat clean, eat a lot of fiber, use digestive enzymes. If you don't, use probiotics along with it. Probiotics are another thing. Probiotics that's the beneficial bacteria that's in your gut that will help. Hit this done?
Yep.
Bingo. Probiotics boost your immune function, and they're a catalyst. They're like a toll keeper for introducing minerals and vitamins and getting them into your body. So when you're deficient or when you go through a detox, you strip all that out. And you strip everything out. So your digestive ability your yield is very low in terms of absorbability. So what you have to do is you have to reseed everything. Well, you know what? Usually most people don't have to do an incredible detox like that. What you want to do is build upon what you have. If you eat more green leafy fibrous vegetables, you'll naturally clean out and you'll detox yourself. You don't have to go through that living hell of diarrhea and dehydration that they put you through, these juice diets and you don't need that. You need to just eat cleaner and stay on a cleaner diet. And then when you want to eat something on a regular basis, your body will have the ability to digest it because you'll have the proper amounts and ratios of digestive enzymes and probiotics. And guess what? The acid reflux goes away. The ulcers go away. The diverticulitis goes away. The colitis that's epidemic now goes away. Those are things that are preventable through diet. Because of what we're doing, we're cutting inflammation here. Most of your inflammation in your body is between your mouth and where you go to the bathroom. Your colon. As you get older, men, colitis is in colon cancer. This is because we're wearing ourselves out here. So these are things that are totally avoidable, and we can take a look at it. So it's a question about which low glycemic carbohydrates are best. Well, fibrous ones are. Fibrous carbs are great, but you know what? Unprocessed things are good also. So when we look at what are the alternatives between rice and brown rice or basmati rice, the more whole food is better. White rice is processed. Stay away from white rice. Same thing with breads. Less processing of flour and so forth is always going to be better because the low glycemic load, same calorie load, but your body has an opportunity to use that over a longer period of time. So in other words, we're going to put in 3 grams of sugar when you eat that pasta or whatever. If it's low glycemic, your body will have 3 hours to use that before glycogen uptake or insulin starts using it and storing it for energy. But if it's white and refined, it's so highly digested, you're going to spike that insulin, and you only have about maybe 30 minutes before it starts converting into triglycerides. Triglycerides are fat. Guess what? It's going to stick to your heart. It's going to stick to your thighs. It's going to stick to your belly. Those are the things that you don't want. So those are the alternatives. The alternatives, whole grains. Whole grains, dark green leafy vegetables, sweet potatoes versus white potatoes. But even the white potatoes aren't bad. It's the ratios of how you eat things are really important. You want to couple them with a lot of dark green leafy vegetables. So the impact glycemic wise isn't as profound. So getting back to, let's see, we covered that. Starches. I mean, you take a look at different societies. I mean, take a look at the Asian population. In pre-World War II, primarily, they ate a lot of starches, a lot of carbohydrates, yet they're skinny. When they start becoming westernized, now we started seeing more cardiovascular, more obesity in Asian populations. The Inuit, the Eskimos up north, before they were really exposed to Western culture, they ate tons of fat. Blubber and salmon, tons of fat, good fats, but tons of fat. And, you know, everyone's low fat, no fat. Well, guess what? They were a lean society. They lived long. There was virtually no cardiovascular disease, no stroke. If they fell in, you know, they get eaten by a polar bear or something, that's a different situation. But the fact of the matter is, as soon as they westernized and they started eating a lot of carbohydrate and processed food, because you know what got up there, which stayed longer? The processed foods. And so the westernization of processed food really have wreaked havoc with that population. You see that with any third world population that has eaten the way they've eaten. You can see how they've turned through westernized food. I didn't say westernized, but modern processed food. And it's had an incredible negative impact. And in America, it's just, you know, the way we look at things, we're set up to fail, really. I mean, you take a look at every corner now. There's a Burger King, there's a McDonald's, there's a Kentucky Fried Chicken, there's a Taco Bell, the next corner, and there's more. And it just repeats itself. What are the alternatives? And we're taught to work, work, work. We don't sit down anymore. Do you sit down and forget about lunch? Do you sit down for dinner with your family? You know, you come home with a bag of fast food, you throw it on the table, the kids eat it like wolves, and they're out playing with the video games. You got to get back to those fundamental things about respect, respecting food. Those are the big things. The things about diet and nutrition, you can get really specific for that, for performance and athletic things and body composition. We can turn that, develop programs for everybody. But generally speaking, the thing that you should take out of this, obviously, is about respecting food. But think of HOPE. HOPE is an acronym that you can do the research. It's higher fiber. H. Higher fiber will help you. Green, dark, lean, leafy vegetables have an incredible amount of antioxidants. Those phytonutrients that plants carry calm the system down. They cut inflammation down. And people talk about being inflamed. It's about being not acidic. People talk about being alkaline, and they drink Kagan or alkalized water. Unless you're absorbing water ionically through your mouth, alkalized water hits your stomach, one of the most powerful acids, hydrochloric acid in your stomach, and neutralizes any alkalinity. The way to become alkaline is cutting inflammation and organic waste within your body. The way you do that is by eating non-inflammatory foods like dark green leafy vegetables, carbohydrates that are low glycemic but soluble carbohydrates like oatmeal draw out, and they clean, and they draw out fats from your system. They draw out toxins from your system. That's how you detox. The fiber cleans the walls. The absorbable carbohydrates absorbs the waste. Guess what? Organic waste now is lower. Without a lot of organic waste in your bloodstream, the pH, the acidity, it's not so acidity anymore. It doesn't break down. What happens? The alkalinity goes up. The pH goes up. That's how you become more alkaline. So HOPE, higher fiber, getting good carbohydrates in, good soluble and insoluble fiber. The O is omega-3. Omega-3 is critically important, good omega-3 at cutting inflammation down. It's important for neurological function. It's important for cutting triglycerides, helping the body manage those fats in your bloodstream. And you can go to a health food store or GNC and there's an aisle full of them. The way to the better omega-3s, the fish oils, have super high density DHA and EPA. DHA and EPA. What did I say? DHA and EPA. EPA is the most important. Okay? That cuts inflammation down and regulates triglycerides. Okay? Omega-3s are important for neurological function. They're important for your eyesight, your balance, your cognitive function, your joint laxity. If you don't have good omega-3s, guess what? You're not going to produce good synovial fluid, hyaluronic acid in the joints and so forth. It keeps the integrity of the body, the neurological end of the body, intact. So when you look at those things, what you have to look at, don't look at a total omega-3s or you'll see these, they all come in, almost all of them come in gel caps or you can drink them. You want to make sure that you have super high concentrations of EPA, most importantly, DHA secondly. Everything else doesn't matter. And if they're not labeled, they're junk. They're highly, they break down very easily. Ultraviolet light breaks them down, heat breaks them down. So if they've been sitting, you get these big giant jars of them at Costco, the whole family better be eating them because they go bad. Macadamia nut oil, monounsaturated fats like mac oil and so forth, olive oil, very good things to use. But don't cook with olive oil. Put it on your food. You'll get a benefit from it. When you cook with it, what do? You burn it. You burn olive oil. And when you burn olive oil, what you're doing is creating a lot of free radicals. Free radicals, that's the inflammation that goes in your body. What you don't want is free radicals. What you want is antioxidants. The antioxidants are what protect your bodies. They're the buffer between the inflammatory agents and the cell. They buffer. They block them and get them out. So omega-3s are very important. The P in hope, probiotics. Again, probiotics are important. You can take all the vitamin and minerals in the world. You're not going to get a great absorption rate if you don't have probiotics. If your immune function is compromised, macadamia nut oil is the best. It's got a super high, Amanda asked, what's the best to cook with? Macadamia nut oil is the best. It tastes great. It has the highest smoke point, which means you can cook to about 900 degrees before it turns or goes bad. And you can cook with that. People cook with olive oil, they're actually poisoning themselves. What is considered a high concentration EPA or DHA? EPA, I'd want at least 600 to 1200 milligrams of EPA a day, or micrograms, however they do it. The DHA isn't as important. We now know the EPA is the critical component. So those are the best. Which low glycemic carbs are the best? Okay. So when it comes to low glycemic carbs too, it goes back to the fundamentals of what is your relationship. If I'm sitting at a desk all day, do I need a lot of carbohydrates? No, I don't. But I need enough that after sleeping for 8 hours and not eating 3 or 4 hours before to go to bed, I need some carbs to bring my blood sugar up and keep it steady throughout the day. So I'll get up in the morning, I'll have cream of rice or oatmeal, and I'll put maybe a few blueberries in there, a few dried plums in there, and then I'm set, and we put egg whites in there too. It's awesome. And that is a sustainable form of carbohydrate till 2.5, 3 hours later where I have a small piece of fruit. Okay, and that's all I need. From that point on, it's more fiber and protein because I'm not that active. That's enough carbohydrate that keeps my cognitive function intact. I'm not getting drippy. I don't get tired. That's the name of the game there. So if you're doing that, but on the other hand, if I'm getting up in the morning, I'm going out to the gym to lift weights. Well, you know what? I'm going to eat that meal before. I'm going to eat those oats before I go in with the blueberries and date. If I'm going into the gym, for instance, in this scenario, I want to go in to do cardiovascular work and I want to do empty cardio because I'm going to take advantage of being empty. My blood sugar is very low. I'm hypoglycemic. I'm virtually almost there. I'm not going to eat any food before I go in. What I'll do is I'll take my branched chain amino acids. Maybe I'll take an energy drink, but not a healthy energy drink that helps stimulate metabolism, that has maybe a little L-arginine or something, a nitric oxide that opens up blood vessels so I get better blood flow, something that helps recirculate my energy so I really metabolize any carbohydrate that's in my blood. And guess what? I'll go in empty, and by doing my cardiovascular work for 35, 45 minutes, I'll be in an optimum fat burning state. Maybe I'll use an amino acid like L-carnitine that actually helps facilitate fat metabolism. So it's all about manipulation. So if I were going to eat, I would eat the same food, but I would eat before. If I'm going in to do fasted cardio to burn out fat, I want to eat before. Immediately afterwards, I would eat the same meal because I want to bring my blood sugar up. I want to sustain energy throughout the rest of the day. So those are the things that I try to, those are the things that on a case-by-case basis, based on your activity. So during the day, I'm not that active, so I'm not going to eat a lot of carbohydrates. They're going to be mostly fibrous carbs, green leafy vegetables, okay? And then I'll put some protein in with them.
Spinach,
okay.
broccoli.
Kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, string beans, dark green, collard greens, those are the things that you're going to go through. And those are the things that you're going to absorb all those antioxidants that keep inflammation down. Okay, so those are the things we look at. And then the last thing is eat. Hope. High fiber, omega-3s, probiotics. Probiotics are important again for what? Immune function. Getting those minerals and vitamins in. Keeping the things that you need going in. So the last thing is digestive enzymes. We kind of touched on that in the beginning. If you're not digesting your food, I don't care what you eat. It's not getting in. The things that you need to get into your bloodstream are not getting in. They're getting in, they're breaking down to a certain size, not the right composition for absorption. They get into the gut's not digesting them, and guess what? They force their way through, and you can, that's where you hear about diverticulitis and ulcers and so forth. But what happens is, if you break it down into the right composition, the body takes advantage of it or assimilates it, and then you get the benefits from that food. It's pretty simple like that. Until people start really understanding what food does and how you digest your food, that's the key. And when you're eating digestive enzymes, when you're eating a lot of fiber, in your lower GI tract, your colon, large intestine, that's where waste management occurs. You've got to stay well hydrated. Back to the water. Get away from juice. Get the jug. Fill it up with water, branched chain amino acids. That's what you got to do. You use something like that when you're drinking a gallon and a half of water a day, and it's available. If it's not there and you go outside and go to the Coke machine, what do you expect? If you stay well hydrated, you're going to feel better. There's less inflammation. Studies have shown, and anybody who's an athlete will tell you, that without hydration, their joints feel stiffer. The reason why is cartilage, ligament, tendon. They're non-vital pieces of your body. Your vital organs are your heart, your liver, your brain, okay? Well, guess what? If I don't have anything to drink within 15 or 20 minutes, my hydration point starts to go down a little bit. Within a half an hour to 45 minutes, I become dehydrated. It's just a simple thing. I'm expelling more water through sweating and just respiration. What happens is the water comes, the vital organs have to be hydrated. So they draw from the non-vital areas, the muscle, the ligament, the cartilage, the tendon. Well, guess what, folks? Any athlete, if you take a look at them, we used to always think, hey, in the fourth quarter, you're not conditioned. These guys get hurt when they're tired. They get hurt because they're very vulnerable when they lose a lot of water weight. When a guy's losing 2 or 3 pounds of water weight throughout the game, his ligaments get tight and they get like beef jerky. And then when they get like beef jerky, the range of movement is limited. And it's not about being warm, it's being about hydrating. Once they're hydrated again, they're loosey-goosey and they're less apt to tear. Okay, there's certain traumas they're going to tear no matter what. But the reality is, if you're well hydrated, you have better tensile strength. With better tensile strength, they're less apt to tear. So stay hydrated, especially when you get older. The electrolytes, you can add electrolytes to it. Pedialyte, you spike it with Pedialyte, you spike it with branched chain amino acids. You're going to feel better. That's all there is to it. It's not a big. These are fundamental things that you grasp. Eat whole foods. Stay hydrated. As you grow older, use digestive enzymes. If you're not digesting your food well now, it's always the best first step. Digestive enzymes, probiotics. Stay away from crazy detoxes where you get sick. Do something really, just help your body by taking a look at your food and eating appropriately based on your lifestyle. If you're not active during the day, you don't need a lot of energy. So you know what? You're not going to eat a lot of carbohydrates. You don't need a lot of carbohydrates at night either. Before you go to bed, you're not that active. So if you're pounding a lot of carbohydrates at night, you're in trouble. Because you know what? You're going to go to bed. Your body's not going to use the energy, but it will store it. So carbohydrates, generally speaking, early in the day, gives you that sustainable energy you're looking for. Any other questions? Oh, here's a couple of things. Something on top of hope. It's about planning and preparing your food, planning and preparing your schedule and so forth. When you plan and prepare for something, stress goes down, cortisol levels go down, homocysteine goes down. These are homocysteine, cortisol, C-react. These are all inflammatory things in your body. If you plan and prepare, you're so much more relaxed and less stressed. And see, less stress, less anxiety, more predictability. You see how everything goes together? There's a synergistic effect. Not only what we eat, but if we plan our food plan. We have a food plan that's planned and prepared for us. I don't have to think about what I'm eating tomorrow. It's already done. If you do 2 or 3 days ahead of time, then you know you're going to have everything available for you. They get these 6-pack bags and these
The fit style purses for the ladies.
fit style things and all different types of styles and so forth that you can have 5, 6, 7 meals. You know, I was at this bodybuilding show. I think it was the Nationals a couple of years ago. And Phil Heath, Mr. Olympia, is behind the. It wasn't Phil Heath. It was Bill Wilmore. Bill Wilmore was behind one of the booths at one of his sponsors. And 2 teenage kids, probably 15, 16, 17 years old, walked up to Bill and, Bill, we want to be big like you. And how do we do it? And he goes, well, how long you been here? He goes, oh, we've been here for like 3 or 4 hours. He goes, where's your food? And the kids like look at each other. Well, you know, we didn't bring any food, but we ate the protein bar. And he goes, and Bill reached down under the table. He picked up his cooler. He goes, you got to eat. You've got to eat on a regular basis. You got to bring your food. You got to be committed. You've got to plan. That's how you get bigger. That's how you grow. That's how you stay healthy. Not so much. Those principles are the same for regular people. Where's your food? Did you plan your food? Is it ready for you? Or you know what? It's an afterthought. Go to Taco Bell tonight. Go to Taco Bell tonight. Go get some insulin. Go get the diabetes medication. Get the high blood pressure medication. The cardiovascular medication. The Lipitor for your children. Plan and prepare. Anxiety, you don't have that anxiety when you plan and prepare. You have that predictability. You know that's one less thing I got to worry about. There's so many things you got to worry about. This is something so easily controllable. Sit down, eat your food. Eat your food, take some time. I talk about resting and napping and all these different things in terms of cutting stress down and anxiety, connective breathing and meditation and yoga. Planning and preparing is the key, folks. You know, hope, high fiber, omega-3s, probiotics, digestive enzymes. Plan and prepare. Fundamental things. It's not so much, hey, is it the oil? When do I eat? When do I do my refeed? That's fine-tuning things. Get the big picture down. Eat more real food. Get away from processed foods. Today, everything is now. Every meal that you can buy it in a can, mix it with water. You know what? 1 or 2 protein shakes a day. That's all you should be eating at the very most. Eat real food if you want to grow. If you want better body composition. If you want to get leaner. If you want to lose weight, eat real food. So that's what we do here. I think I pretty much covered most of the things that I wanted to cover. Just check my notes here. I mean, think about 10-year-old kids on Lipitor. It's ridiculous, you know. Yeah, that's about it.
Does anybody else have any?
Anybody else have any questions before I sign off? Jason, no Mountain Dew. Cut back on the Mountain Dew. Yeah, that's it. That's it for now. If any of you guys think of any specific topics, what we'll do in the future, instead of just talking about food, we'll show you. We'll go into the kitchen. We're going to show you some alternatives. We'll go to the store, some of the places. We'll go show you some foods that, hey, organic, inorganic, is there a difference? Some foods, you know what? You don't have to get all organic. There's certain foods that doesn't make a difference. because certain foods does make a difference. It's all about awareness. So we'll look at food. If we want to talk about hormone replacement, if we want to look at, we're doing platelet-rich plasma injections into joints. So if you get shoulder issues or knee issues and so forth, we can tell you there's some incredible things that we do in terms of stem cell and platelet-rich plasma injections that are really exciting. So you guys give me some feedback. If you want specific things about diet and so forth, just contact me, instant message me, and those are things that we can take a look at. And that way you'll be healthier and happier. And you take a look at these things. And what we do here, it's proactive medicine. A lot of people have integrative medicine and so forth. But proactive medicine is kind of like, let's get ahead of the ball. While we're healthy, let's stay healthy. Let's not wait till we get sick and be reactive. Reactive medicine is when we're sick, we got to come in. And I get a lot of those people come in. And you know what? They come in and they don't want to change. They're sick. Is there a magic pill or something like that? I said, the magic pill is you. You have to put your foot in the water, not your toe in the water. You have to make the commitment to change. So many men come in here, and it's incredible. So many successful people come in here. And I say, you're successful for this reason. When you started your business, you had a business plan. During that business, when you went into a meeting, you knew what that meeting was about. You prepared for it, whether it was new employees, materials, opening up new franchise, whatever it may be. But you know what? You don't give that same respect to your own health. You say, hey, what do we eat this afternoon? I don't know. What do you want to eat? You've got to get back to those same fundamentals that made you successful. Those fundamentals will fuel you, keep you healthy, and keep you strong, keep you in the game. Whether it's productivity, quality of life, sex drive, all those things are all predicated on good nutrition and a good lifestyle. So that's what we're going to, in the future, we'll look at those different things. And the people that aren't committed and that don't, they feel like, I'm going to spend a lot of money and I just think, let's see if it works. Save your money. Save your money. Go do what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, you have to commit. You've got to commit yourself. You've got to commit your health for yourself, most importantly, for your family, for the community, for your business. Those things all count. At the end of the day, no matter what happens, I tell the story over and over again, you know what? If you don't take care of yourself and you keep going the way you do, because I have got a guy this morning that came in, had a cardiovascular event, and I said, here's the deal. The incredible fortune that you made, the incredible business, the people that rely on you are counting on you to sustain yourself and keep the business going. But if you don't, things don't stop. What happens is your wife, your children, the people around you, your wife's ex-husband, enjoy the fruits of your labor. Wouldn't you rather stick around, enjoy the fruits of your labor? So that's what we'll end on today. And in the future, we'll cover more nutritional things, get more specific about supplements, good supplements, proteins, good protein powders, disclosure and so forth about what's good, when to take it, what to mix it with. And give me some feedback, and I'll do the research. If I don't have the answers, I don't have all the answers, but I'll find out for you. I'll do the work for you. I'll call the people up that I know. I'll refer to the doctor, and we'll get the answers. So it was great.
Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next Wednesday at 12 o'clock.